Welcome back to Satisfactory. Okay, we're in the midst of putting together our... Mostly we're focused on the reinforced plate. I'm gonna make this reinforced plate mono. Oh, reinforced plate. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna cut that and just call it blank. Then we'll put that back in. Just so we have the blank version. Of course, now getting inside of here is going to be a problem. There we go. I could put you there and then you there. This is actually not a lot of space. So that's the input for the screws, and then we could say that's the output and the input. So we gotta input the plates and then input the screws on top of that. We're gonna lift up all the good stuff and drop it in, and we're gonna take out the resulting stuff and lift it up so we can then drop it down on the outside. I think I kind of want to get these involved for some reason. Can I get this to fit? Nope, apparently it's just too close. And you don't really have a lot of room to give up is the problem. But I guess I could try to move it back a bit more. Technically, we are going to need space for the splitters anyway, so this will be fine. Uh-oh. We've lost sound, which is typically a sign that we're gonna crash soon. We'll see. So now somewhere in here, we need to connect some amount of machines. Who knows how many? Normally, it's a matter of just trying to squeeze in as many machines as possible. Can I replace you? So it goes down and in. But we probably need to split this up some so we can share it, right? Because all the stuff that we want to use is going to come in from above. We might be able to sneak this just a little bit by going this way. I mean, that might be one way to go. The problem is that means one full line is dedicated to that one machine. And that doesn't seem right. We can't do it that way. We still need to split these. So the thing above us receives the stuff below. Is that a merger? At some point I know it is a merger. This comes out. We want to send it up so it would connect here. And then this would connect here. You know, I've built this a million times, and yet every time I still have a little bit of a pause when it comes to actually executing this. This is obviously not going to work. We're going to have to put a splitter on this, but that's easy, right? Just put a splitter on it. All right, let's think about that one as well. And let's think about this. The point is that whatever we make, and we could probably jump down here and specify that this is going to be bolted. The bolted is truly going to burn down our supply of screws. So everything we want to send it up internally. So it's going to come out, connect here, and then it's going to go up. Wait a minute. It's going to go out, connect here, then you're going to connect. Oh, see, this is the problem. Is you want to connect one version of this to the next version, not to itself. So I think technically I don't want these. Comes out, connects to here, then goes up to the next one. Oh man, I am having some serious trouble here. Let's... Maybe I do want these. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I think the answer is something like this. Of course, it's right in front of this one. Ugh. Well, it's okay. And then we'll leave that in place just to help us with the tightness of that turn. How am I going to connect this, though? Jeez. Maybe I need to move it in a little closer. Okay, so the bolted plate comes out of here, then goes up. Let's try that again. So that is theoretically at least good for the output. The next one goes out, connects to this, comes in, merges and goes out, and then the next machine goes in like that. Beautiful. Okay. Phew. We got that part done. The plates are going to come in from the top. You know, I should probably put a splitter on this just so we can split them a little easier. Now I gotta figure out the screws. I might have set this up wrong already because the screws are gonna come up, then they're gonna come in here and go down, and then out to the next level below. Yeah, all of this is wrong. This is a lot just for one machine. We're gonna have to figure out how to get more machines in here. I'm worried that that is a little bit too high. Yeah, that's gonna break our stackability. We want to remain stackable. It would only need to come down like 1 meter. Now it's clearly inside the stackable zone. So the screws get sent up to the top. They come in here. Technically, we want to have multiple machines connected, but not necessarily. I wonder if I have the half foundations. I don't. I should probably get those soon. Okay. We can at least connect this one in a straightforward manner. Uh-oh. This is gonna hurt. I really need to get the hovercraft. I really need to get the hover. I like all the little lens flares. Okay. Okay. From that, we should be able to split off a chunk of a little bit of the screw supply there. Now I could have this one just supply after the fact, but we're not going to do that. At least not yet. Let's see if we can get another one of these in here. Uh-oh. We're lacking rotors. How embarrassing. We should have had rotors. Oh, we gotta get a tape. Yikes. Okay, where? Somewhere around here I've got some amount of rotors. Yes, 608 rotors to be exact. Probably enough to get us going. Of course, the rotor recipe isn't anywhere near. Well, it's using screws too. 100 screws per minute. We'll put this on a merger. I mean, just one of these builds is using 750 screws. Maybe we don't have to use all of them. We theoretically have a good supply of screws. One click being 750 worth is kind of a lot. But maybe this one uses the bolted, and then these two use the regular. Now we're just using 120. So now we're using 370 per click. I'd probably, if I'm going to do all this, I probably should at least have one belt's worth. So we'll go that way. So that's 560 per click. I could use this right here to supply. Need 16 high. Okay. That gets the plate. Now we got to get the screws in here. You know, maybe I should put the other fast one on this edge. And then we'll put the slower one in the middle here. So that's 35 plate per click. Roughly 4 clicks. 148 reinforced plate per minute. We'll put a little power supply in here. We got 3 ports of screws left to deal with. Okay. So I said that this one was going to be the slow one. We technically have 4 screws of, or 4 outputs of screws, inputs of screws to connect. Right, so right now this first one both of these are effectively theoretically on the same line here. But I really can't just stop using that line. I should probably go ahead and split and share the same way I would any other line. So let's do that. All right, so these two will share that. That would be the way to do it, and then have these two share this one. Of course, why we would force share the slow one is a different question. Hold on. I need to charge my watch. There we go. All right. So now all we have to do is connect the last 2 of these. I guess I should just make them all fast. Just call it a day on that. $750 screws per minute. So that's like 2 clicks worth. Wait, no, it's demanding 480, but we can supply 1920. Because we've got 4 lines of screws. Technically, we probably have 5 lines of screws, but we're not going to get into that. We're just going to stick with the 4. Yeah, we'll just go with the full speed. All right, that one's connected. Now we just got to get this one in the mix somehow. There we go. So that one actually connects. Let's see if that's going to work. But it claims that it's working, and it will either overload this side or overload the middle. And then that one has the same effect where it overloads the middle as well. So that should be working. This is going to be a smaller build, so I don't feel too bad about testing it. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do on the screw side, but we're letting that other stuff populate before we do it. Really, we just need to hit reinforced plate. My goodness. Blueprint, and then test. Now, whether or not we could actually test it or not is a different question, because really what we need to do is find a place to build it. And honestly, why not build it right next to this? How many foundations do we have? 10. Maybe we don't go all the way out here, because basically we're just going to have to build a giant pillar to have this be fully supported. But this is kind of be like an offshoot where we would build reinforced plate. Of course, that's going to require screws that we don't have. $780 crystal oscillators. You know, I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be 780 crystal oscillators bad. Of which we have 0. We might not have any quartz crystal left. Our design aesthetic is very expensive. $56 per minute, so we crank them out. I'm actually checking to make sure we actually can build more like this if we want. I should think about how many other of these tier 2 products do we want to build. I guess the ones that are exclusively iron based could be considered. Like rotors, but rotors aren't iron based unless we have the alternate to the wire, which we don't, but we probably could get it. Well, that could be kind of interesting. Just use iron as much as we can at this stage. Turn the rotors, make them totally out of iron. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for special... Ma'am. Oh, don't have reinforced plate. How unfortunate. I'm pretty sure I have some hard drives in here. If we had the alternate recipe, we could make rotors here as well, and then just fill this with iron. And then technically on top of that, we could make smart plating. Of course, yeah, this is a... We could have to change the internal layout of this particular piece, because then it's like... It's 1-to-1 basically, so you don't really need all that screw... belt reinforcement concept. So, I mean, technically, if we made everything out of iron ingots, we made screws out of iron ingots, wire out of iron ingots. If we made wire out of iron ingots, we could also make cable. Then we can make the reinforced plates. In which case, we don't need the iron rods. So we got way too many iron rods at this point. Well, no, we could still use some of those iron rods for the rotors. So it's not a total waste. Oh yeah, we also need those for the modular frames. We need a decent amount of them too. Okay, so let's go through it. Modular frame, that's 1. Iron plate, that's 2, but we've already done that. But it still counts as far as what we're doing here. Then we could do a iron wire cable output. I'm going to count that as 3. Okay, I've already lost count. Hold on. Let's start over. $85. Plan. If you hit tab, then it takes you out. It doesn't say what you were typing. Plan. Rotor. Reinforced plate. Does that mean we could get the stators done too? Oh, wait. We wanted to do wire cable. So 3 satellites so far. We could definitely do the rotor. See, now, if we go too much farther down the line, we're basically doing all of it. Like, well, if you're going to do the rotor, you might as well do the smart plating. Rotors and frames. And we could theoretically squeeze out the stators. So 6 of them. 6 is a lot. I wasn't really planning on 6. I was thinking maybe it would come out to like 3 or 4. We could go to a center area here and then say 1, 2, 3 and pillar all of that. I think that's what I'm going to do. But right now, we need 768 crystal oscillators just to build the aesthetic part of this whole thing. It's just a little ridiculous. Oh boy, now we're running out of reinforced plate. I'm almost sure that we don't have a ton of reinforced plate. Well, I could be wrong because we have one whole small container of it. Gotta get a good chunk of crystal oscillators made. Man, I can hear the music from that party that far away. Oh. There we go. I guess we should check in and see kind of like how much are we expecting to get out of this. Five plates equals 2 oscillators. $400, $800. So it's almost exactly enough for one of these towers. Jeez. I'm gonna have to break down and start making some traditional factories, I think. Boo! I wanted the iron wire. Tempered deuterium with petroleum coke. Wow, that's intense. So instead of 3 to 1, you get 6 for 3. Ah. 50% more deuterium ingots. It's unlikely I'm going to use that. Both of these are petroleum product enhancers. Well, I think we'll call it there. Obviously, we need a huge amount of crystal oscillators before we continue. I'm starting to think I should just spend a whole nother episode finding summer sloops. Each one of these takes 4 at the max. But that would be a good additional chunk of crystal oscillators. I could also just bang them out by hand, but no one wants to do that. We also need more. Is everything being stymied by our crystal oscillator production? Yeah, you can see our mega power tower out there. But that costs crystal oscillators. Everything costs crystal oscillators. Oh, this only costs 6 crystal oscillators. Theoretically, I could finish this. 320 quartz crystal is a lot of quartz crystal, and we need the quartz crystal for the crystal oscillators, but everything needs another thing is the problem. I do have a decent amount of frames. Maybe we'll make that the next thing we finish off, just to get this power tower going. It's 90 frames per click. Oof. 4 clicks worth. Oh wait, that's going to consume our modular frames that we have in storage and turn them into phase 3 parts. Which I should be focused on, but I'm having more fun just kind of expanding this starter factory a little bit more than I probably should. A reasonable person would say, oh wait, we got rotors on the list twice. Rotors, reinforced plate, wire and cable. Rotors, reinforced plate, wiring, cable. That's a halfway decent starter factory situation. Of course, some of those base ones are going to require iron ore just over again. Where we already have the screws for the rotors, the screws and the rods for the rotors. We already have the screws and the plates for the iron plates, or reinforced plates. And then the frames. So I think we should make that a thing. Those 3. And then we'll figure out the wire cable combo somewhere else. All right. Let's deal with that in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.